You've written a lot over the years about various dazzling blow-ups like Amaranth, the energy fund that
Mhm.
imploded back in
Mhm.
2006, or long-term capital management, which
Right.
imploded back in 1998. When
Right.
you think about the lessons of all of the firms that didn't survive over the period that Oaktree has gone from strength to strength,
Right.
what is it that we need to learn, both as professional investors or as regular amateur investors?
Well, one of the quotes that I've been using the most in the last decade or so, William, is attributed to Mark Twain. And he said, "It ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for certain that just ain't true." And if you think about it, no sentence that starts with, "I don't know, but," or "I could be wrong, but," ever got anybody into big trouble. You get big trouble when you say, "I'm 100% sure that XYZ." And then you take bold bets. And if you take a bold bet on a premise which turns out to be incorrect, you can be finished. Long term, it did that because they thought that their method was infallible and it produced tiny, skinny, tiny returns, but they would lever that up into big returns by using a lot of borrowed money. But when you have a problem on leverage, your losses are magnified and you can get carried out as they were. And I think that Amaranth, too, bet boldly and incorrectly and got carried out.
You wrote a great memo, I think it was called Pigweed, which is the less glamorous name for Amaranth. And
Right.
there was a lovely sentence in there where you said you can successfully invest in volatile assets if you're sure of being able to ride out a storm. But if you lack that certainty and face the possibility of withdrawals or margin calls, a little volatility can mean the end. And then you said, in this very pithy way, you have to be able to survive life's low points. Can you
Right.
talk a little bit about that? That seems like such a simple but
Yeah.
really critical point about investing.
Well, another of my favorite imprecations is never forget about the 6 foot tall person who drowned crossing the stream that was 5 feet deep on average. And people have to think about that for a minute. But if you think about it, I think you realize that the notion of surviving on average is meaningless and irrelevant. You have to survive every day in order to reach the finish line. And that means you have to survive on the worst days. And if you have a portfolio or an investment which is directed at maximizing the results if everything you hope comes true, chances are you expose yourself to the possibility of being carried out if what turns out to be true is something different. So that's really what it's about. And a lot of investment management decisions come down to the question of whether you're going to try to maximize your gains if things go the way you hope and believe, or minimize your losses if they don't. You can't do both at the same time. There's no strategy having maximum returns under good fortune, but being fine if things turn out badly. You have to make a choice. And in fact,